Hello, and welcome to another installment of At the Podium with me, Patrick Hughey. At the Podium is a platform where we will learn from people who come from different walks of life, careers, and experiences, but all share one thing in common. They have stepped fully into the transformative power of saying yes to the unexpected turns of their lives, and they are now using the power of their voice or podium to make an impact on the world we live in today. At the Podium is the intersection of art, culture, and big thoughts wrapped up in good old-fashioned conversation. Today, I'm thrilled and humbled to share the podium with Hugh Huffaker. Hugh is the founder and mastermind of a spa CBD product line called Cosmetic, which was ranked in 2020 as top CBD skincare brand of 2020 by Organic Spa magazine. Cosmetic also holds patents on its micro encapsulation process for increasing the solubility of CBD through the skin. Hugh is also the founder of a cleaning and disinfectant line called Clean Republic, which is registered with the EPA to kill COVID and was awarded the lowest rating of toxicity available for an EPA hospital-grade disinfectant. And if he weren't busy enough running two brands, he also owns his own spa in the beautiful mountain town of Buena Vista, Colorado. A serial entrepreneur and an inventor who lives in Boulder, Colorado with his wife, Thompsy, Hugh is an avid rock climber, outdoorsman, and jazz musician who has made environmentally responsible and healthy products a way of life. Hugh, welcome to At the Podium.
Patrick, it's a pleasure to be here. Really excited to do this with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Hugh. Now, Hugh, after all of that, all you've done, you're literally the modern day Renaissance man. I mean, what can't you do?
I try. I don't know if I do anything really well, but it's about trying, right?
I mean, well, I think I think you're doing quite well. Okay, so I know you really started in the CBD space. So I want you to clear it up for everybody because CBD is a hot topic. It's been a hot topic. You know, why does it work? Are there long-term effects of using CBD that we don't see right now? And what is the difference between CBD and marijuana?
Yeah, so I sort of stumbled into this industry just a little bit. I used to always get in trouble with my parents in high school for smoking pot. It was I grew up in Tennessee, and so it was, in a pretty conservative home, and so it's funny because I definitely got busted a lot in high school for that, and then years down the road, my mom got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and it was really hard to watch her, slowly. She didn't have the really fast acting kind. She had the kind that just started to slowly degrade away. And the worst part for her were these leg spasms that she had every night, like around 5 or 6 o'clock every night. And so, she was on all these muscle relaxers and they weren't working, one. And then two, it was changing my mom's personality to where she just seemed to be out of it a little bit, and it was just really weird for my little brother, sister, and I to see that. And so I'm just like I'm an avid reader, and so I was just going online and reading as much as I could on all sorts of alternative treatments. And one thing that had kind of popped up, and at the time it wasn't very much in the forefront, was the endocannabinoid system's interaction with multiple sclerosis. And the endocannabinoid system is a system of your body, but everyone has heard of CBD, but it's what CBD binds to when it's taken into the body. And so I thought, well, I wonder if this could help out at all. And so I went out and bought all of the CBD topicals I could, because my mom was, she was so conservative. She wouldn't even think about like ingesting anything. And for some reason, the topicals felt a little less intrusive for her, and they didn't work at all. And I finally talked my mom into trying a tincture, which is just an ingestible, and it actually started to suppress the spasms, and almost immediately. And at that point, I thought, wow, this is really crazy how fast this worked. And two, why didn't the topical work? And that's sort of how I just kind of stumbled my way into the industry. I didn't really have any plans on going into the CBD industry at all. But like you said, I in the introduction, that I really love and I've always tried to live my life by is just saying the word yes and keeping an open heart. And if you do that, then it's really crazy where life will take you. Have you ever seen Yes Theory on YouTube before? It's my new favorite thing on YouTube.
No, tell me about it. Tell me about it.
So Yes Theory is these guys who are around my age, and they decided to just say yes to everything. And so, things that you think were not possible, they're like, let's go out and try this. And I think a good example would be they just dial random phone numbers, and someone picks up the phone and they're like, hi, we'd love to travel to wherever you are and come meet you and hang out with you for a day. Or things like one guy had never skydived before and he did a halo jump, and someone had never learned how to backflip and he learned how to backflip. And so the whole thing is just them saying yes to life. And I think it's just really awesome, because so many people they're scared of failure, or they just don't keep an open heart to go out, have new experiences, meet new people. And that's what really guides my life, is just kind of being a little gypsy and jumping around in that sense. And I know I didn't even answer your question of the difference between CBD and hemp, so I can answer, or CBD and THC. But hemp is legal in all 50 states. It's it used to be the #1 cash crop in the United States until it was banned. I think it was in 1920s or 1930s by some really bad propaganda. And so THC and marijuana is slightly different than hemp. That's illegal unless you're in Colorado or a few other states. And then hemp is just where you extract a lot of CBD from. So it's legal, and hemp sort of is paving the way to national legalization of cannabis. I think a lot of people are getting a lot of really huge benefits from hemp. And we're really starting to question why were these plants made illegal in the first place.
So when I'm actually really touched by the story of your mom, because I think when something happens to your mom, it's like it gets you to the core. What had you imagined your life to be like before you were on this quest to find help and relief for your mom's spasms?
It's interesting. I mean, when I went to college, I thought I wanted get a degree in jazz guitar. And so, went to school for music at the University of Tennessee and started out there. And then I remember just kind of panicking one day of, what am I going to do with a degree in jazz guitar? I'm still not sure of what I would have done. And so I went out and I met this guy who's a successful businessman, and asking him if he would be my mentor. And he would say, what do you want to do? And I'd say, I don't know. I know I want to work for myself and create, regardless of what that is. I need to be able to use both sides of my brain. And so he kind of told me something crazy and goes, you should get a degree in accounting and go work for a CPA firm, one of the big CPA firms, for a little while to cut your teeth. Because most creatives who become entrepreneurs, they have that passion, they've got the vision, but they just don't understand the inner workings of the business. And so it's some of the best advice I've ever gotten, best and worst, I guess. And so I got a degree in accounting and actually worked for one of the really large CPA firms. If you can imagine me working at a CPA firm, it was was really, really hard. They kind of work you to the bone when you're right out of school, but it was a really good experience. And so, um, after cutting my teeth, I just started trying things. And, we built an app uh, that was for the alcohol industry, and had some success with that, and I was able to sell that, and make a little bit of money to position myself to be able to start a company, another company. And so that I just knew I needed to be an entrepreneur. And like we were just talking about, I just sort of you just sort of have to listen, and you have to figure out a problem, and then identify the problem. After you identify it, you just figure out how you can solve that issue. And so that's essentially what I just keep an open mind everywhere I go to think, hey, is this a problem? Do I need to, is there something I can do about this?
And do you think, I mean, for people who don't know, cosmetic is incredibly successful. I mean, you stepped into a very sort of insular world of the spa industry, and you've kind of busted open those doors, and they've really embraced the products that you offer. I mean, what is that? How is that the passion? Is that what is that piece that really helped you penetrate a really, it's not an easy world to get into, and you've done it so beautifully, you know. What is that, do you think?
It was really weird. Like the first time that you and I met was at Live Love Spa. And so I spent like a year and a half or 2 years, we were working on different formulations. I was trying to learn about the spa industry. And so, would like walk into spas and try to like make friends with people, not to sell them anything, but just to find out about the spa industry. And so you and I met at I think it was my second spa convention I'd ever been to. And so, I we went to the spa conventions, and I was like, I'm just going to just see what happens. Really, I didn't really have a ton of experience at all. It was really nerve wracking just to go. And a lot of people in the spa industry have like come from skincare, or they come from spa. And I wasn't really that way. So I was just thinking, I'm just going to be myself. I'm not going to try to be anybody else or try to emulate any other company that's out there, and see what happens. And so I think people appreciate when they can tell that you're being genuine and putting yourself out there, even if it's not the status quo, or I'm not maybe your classic skincare guy that you see. And I think people really, really took to that. And the really beautiful thing about the spa industry that I didn't even realize when we were getting into it is just the level of care that people actually have for helping, for keeping their staff safe, or for helping their customers is unbelievable. And just trying to help the environment. And I think that all of our ideals just really aligned with the spa industry. And I just got really lucky to find a place where I feel like I really fit in with the culture. And I think that's a huge part of being able to get in pretty quickly. And I think I don't know, I was still a newbie when we met. I mean, what did anything stand out for you, or from your perspective?
Well, I remember meeting you, and I remember walking into the event, and I was like, why are all these women standing around that table over there? I've never seen spa directors so excited to see somebody standing at a booth. So I was like, I got to find out what's going on. I got to find out who that is, what's happening, because everybody's very excited right now. And having spent time with you over the years, that's a general reaction that I've seen people have to you, that you really have that ability to pull people into you, which is a gift.
Well, what people said, like, you came up to my table and it was really funny. And I remember you left, and I was talking to the person next to me, the vendor, and I was like, oh man, Patrick was really cool. What a nice guy. And he was like, that's Patrick Hughey, right? And I was like, I don't know Patrick Hughey. And they're like, he's the man in spa. And I was like, oh, I need to remember that name. Yeah. But I
Exactly.
like that you didn't come up like, even though you are like one of like the top, most well-known people in spa, and like didn't judge me, because we had a lot of issues in cosmetic when we first launched. Like the brand didn't look that great. The product line was pretty small, and like you were still really really nice and outgoing to me. And so I've always really appreciated that when people are like that.
Well, I thought the product was quality, and I remember saying to you, "We'll bring it in once you change your packaging." I
Yeah.
did that, which we did do to the properties that I oversee. But yeah, I think you had that spark that really drew people in, because it was different. It had that magic dust that happens. But the magic dust isn't just magic dust. I mean, you went to school, you got an accounting degree, a CPA degree, you worked at a firm. It wasn't just like poof, you showed up and all of a sudden all these great things happened. You really put in the grunt work to get there.
Yeah. It's a learning process when you start a company. My first company, we made lots of mistakes, and it wasn't as successful as I wanted it to be, by any means. And so it's just like taking those experiences and really learning from it, I think. And partnering up with really good people too, because I'm kind of like the outgoing guy who's going to try to make friends with everybody. And so partnering up with someone who's got a PhD in biochemistry to really make sure that the product works as good as possible. So you've got like kind of like the love on one side and the science on the other side. And so the best restaurants you go to, there's a lot of love put into everything. And so I think we sort of put that same love into the product while still having the good science base in all of our products.
Very true. So you just said something I think is very interesting. You said in your first company, you made some mistakes. What were those mistakes that you made that when you got into cosmetic, which has been meteoric, that you were able to sort of learn from and recorrect and I hate the word pivot, but pivot in a new direction?
Yeah, I think the biggest, I mean, aside from like the day-to-day things, like just learning about how to benefits and all of the stuff that comes from like having employees and being able to manage people and keeping employees happy. That's a huge learning process. But I'd say the biggest thing was we took money. We took on investment really early in my first company. We went to took money from a venture fund, and all of a sudden I felt like I wasn't working for myself anymore. And you kind of feel like you're working for the man, I guess you would say. And that sort of pulled the creativity out for me. And so for round two with cosmetic, I said we're going to do this grassroots. And so let's like build it slow and build it right, and let it grow on its own, and only have the main people as the investors. And so for the first few months, we were out shipping out of this like tiny shipping container, and I was shipping out of my house sometimes. And so I was doing sales, I was doing shipping, I was doing customer service, and I think that was just a really great way to build a company, because you don't want to grow too fast. Like look what happened to WeWork. You get all of this money and you have all this money to spend, and a lot of times you just spend it frivolously and you don't really think about the things that do matter for the company. And so we did it. We only put money where we really needed to, like on product development, and to make sure the product was good, and then everything else was just like pure hustle. And so learned how to sell the product, learn the industry. And one thing that's, I forget who told me this in the spa industry, but it might have been like Boldajar or it's another CEO. I think it was Boulder Jar, but he said he probably doesn't even remember this because I just kind of walked up to him and was like, "Hi, Boulder Jar, I've heard of you." And he said, "You need to." He's like, "Me and my brother, we were driving around the U.S. together, sleeping in the same bed in a hotel room for the first 3 years of our brand." And he's like, you need to meet everybody. When people think of cosmetic, they're going to think of you before you send any salespeople out. And then when you think of Eminence, you think of Boulder Jar.
Yes.
So I took it to heart and was just a road warrior for 2.5 years, where I was traveling 4 or 5 days every week.
And when did you know? When did you know? When could you take a breath and say, okay, we are, our foot's in the door, we're here? How did you know that moment had come for you?
I would say the first moment, there's been a couple of like really big moments for us, but I would say the biggest one was after our first spa show. We had no idea what was going to happen, and we actually picked up like five spas after the show, and I thought, okay, this we have a little bit of proof of concept just with like those small wins for us. That was just really awesome. And then we were selling online, and our pain cream just started just flying off the shelves. And then all of these reviews started coming in from people saying, my grandma has neuropathy, or arthritis, or I was in a car crash. This is literally the only CBD product that's ever helped me. And that's when we knew that the pain cream was something really special. And we spent a lot of time on it, and that's the pain. We really built the company on pain cream, and now we have some really great other products as well. But I mean, even after all this time, people still just freak out about the pain cream. And that's sort of when I knew we were onto something. And there's been some luxury spas that I never thought that we would be able to get into, such as Montage. And so for me, like, getting into the Montage was just a huge, like, people would go, "Oh my gosh, you're in Montage." Like, we've tried to get in Montage for a decade. And so there's like these wins that you have in your business that you just have to latch onto, because there's so much stress in the day-to-day just growing a business, that you've got to just really hold on to those good days and stay positive.
And how did Clean Republic come into the picture? Because you were so successful in cosmetic, and your timeline was incredibly quick. I mean, I've been in the spa industry for 2 decades, so I've seen lots of lines come and go, and most don't have the success that you've had, sustaining that success as well. And then while that is going gangbusters, you introduce Clean Republic, which has had incredible ratings from the EPA.
Yeah, that was something where it was, just keep your heart open, really. And it's a really weird story how this happened. And everyone thought I was insane. Like, my parents thought I was crazy. All my friends thought I was crazy. But I met this guy trail running in Denver one day, and we were just kind of talking. We both had our dogs with us. We were like throwing our sticks in the water for the dogs. And he asked me what I did, and I told him. And I'd mentioned that we had invested in a farm in Tennessee for growing hemp, and so because we wanted to really be a farm to bottle skincare company. And he was like, "Oh, that's cool. Hey, let's grab a coffee sometime." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And so we went out, we grabbed a coffee, and he asked me if I'd ever had powdery mildew on the plants. And I said, "Yeah, absolutely. In Tennessee, you get powdery mildew. There's not a good way to get rid of powdery mildew. It's without using really toxic chemicals." And he goes, "Well, there's this stuff called hypochlorous acid that I think could be really powerful oxidizer for plants. And I said, all right, that sounds really interesting. He goes, it's made with only water, salt, and electricity. And I was like, okay, well, now I'm really interested. And he goes, and it's made by your immune system, or it's the white blood cells actually produce it. It's an infection fighting compound. And so, I said, this really fits in with the whole cosmetic thing going on. So yeah, let's give it a try. And so, literally like 2 weeks later, I was business partners with a guy I just met who has since come to be my best friend. And everyone thought I was insane going into like an ag pesticide. And so we spray it on the plants, and then boom, powdery mildew just gone. Like it just evaporates off the plant. And not only that, but the plants started growing bigger because it was creating an immune system response in the plants. And so we started a company called Plant Aid together that was for the agriculture industry. And so we sell to the wine industry, citrus, cannabis, tomato, like we touch a lot of different industries. And while this was happening, we started sending it to a lab to test it out for, what else can this do? And it came back about 200 times stronger than bleach at killing, viruses and bacteria. But yet at the same time, it's made with water, salt, and electricity. Like here's a little sample size of this. And, if you do that with bleach, you're going to be in a world of pain. And so, I start talking to spa directors, and I'm like, hey, what are you using to clean? And they're all using quaternary ammonium, which is horrendous for the environment. And so I thought, why are spas using this? And when I go to a spa, or like, I'm sure when someone comes to you with the skincare line, you probably look at the ingredients, right? Like very carefully. And spas are like, what's this? But yet at the same time, we're spraying these really dangerous chemicals with our employees around all day. And so we went out and got an EPA registration as a disinfectant, which took a very long time. It was a ton of effort. And 2 months later, COVID hit. And so timing was just really fortunate. I mean, we thought this was just going to be a product that we would sell to spa and hospitality just because I was connected in that industry and thought it would fit perfectly. And then, within a month or two after really launching, we were selling to the NFL. We were selling to these like just crazy, Fortune 100 companies, like just overnight, because they saw the writing on the wall of, this is going to be really dangerous for us to be disinfecting unless we use a product that, we can feel comfortable around, because there's a real risk of injury if we're going to use these products. And I think the timing was just right, and we got really lucky. But luck was a big part of it, but I also think it's about, keeping your heart open. And I just had this feeling, it all made sense. And, being a business partner with a stranger in 2 weeks isn't the greatest idea, but sometimes you just have to try it, I think. See what happens, learn from it.
So if a person is graduating from college, they're coming out of, I don't know, the business school at Stanford or Harvard, and here you are, a very successful business person. You're running your own businesses, and you also run your own spa, which I was like, when I heard you, I was like, you has gone insane.
I know, it's out of control.
So what would you say to a person? They're sitting in the seat, they have their cap and gown on, they have their shiny new diploma. You are a graduate of Stanford Business School.
Yeah.
Advice to that person?
I would say, don't be afraid of failure. I know that's sort of cliche, but all of us fail. And you're gonna think that like your friends think you're like an idiot for failing or starting a stupid business, or your family is disappointed in you, or everybody questions everything when you start a business. Everyone's like, that doesn't look good, or like you're gonna get questioned and you're gonna fail, but the failure is good because you're gonna keep learning. And so you're only young once, and so if you're coming out of school, maybe try to get a little bit of real life experience or get a really good mentor as well who's had that experience. And if you feel passionate about something, then give it a shot, because what's the worst that can happen? I mean, you might fail, but you know, you just get yourself back up and learn from it, and then come back even stronger. And you know, if you think people are going to be laughing at you for failing, it's actually not true. You know, whenever you talk to someone, you know, who's working for maybe a let's say they're in like the cubicle life, the classic cubicle life, they'll say, you know, it's I've always wanted to start something. You know, it's amazing how many people come up to you and tell you, I've always wanted to start something, but I can't. Like I've got a wife, or I've got a kid, and you know, they feel like they can't take that risk. But I think you can always go out and take that risk, or you can do the millennial hustle too. You know, you can just work nights and you know, try to get that hustle going on. So if you work hard, if you're passionate about it, and if you're don't be like the shady salesman who just says what people want to hear, or be the person you think people want you to be. Just be yourself, and you know, people will respond to that.
It's amazing. One last question. So who has been, you talked about the gentleman who gave you the advice to go to become a CPA. Besides him, who has been that mentor in your life that you really can point to and say, this person?
I would probably say, do you know Tim Ferriss, the author?
Mm-mm.
So Tim Ferriss is he wrote a few books, but my favorite book is, he wrote this book called A Tribe of Mentors, and he has a podcast where he just interviews really high performing individuals, whether they're pro athletes or business people, or uh, philanthropists, like anyone who's just performing at a high level. He just goes and interviews them. But the thing that really interests me is the way that he interviews people. It's really unique. He'll be like, you know, what do you do in the morning? You know, what do you ever take a cold shower? Do you write a to-do list? Do you start out your day with you know, doing the hardest thing or the easiest thing so you can check it off the box? And so he just has this massive book of you know, really successful people and their rituals. And when you read the book, you start to see all of these patterns pop up that can make your life a lot easier. And so, and keep your stress down as well, because a lot of them are about health. And so I noticed that people are, you know, using cold water therapy a lot. So, you know, I went and learned like the Wim Hof method and started using like cold showers and cold water therapy. And then, you know, a lot of people are doing intermittent fasting, you know, and you know, keeping carbs down really low. And so I tried that out, and my body responded to it really amazing. And my, you know, my energy levels are through the roof like all day. And so it's just, I think it's like little things like that, is, you know, reading what other people are doing, and then go out and test it and see if it works for you. It's not like everything's not going to work for everybody, but you know, there's some things as humans that, you know, we're all going to be able to relate to. Like what about you? Do you have a morning routine, or do you have anything that you live by for you to be successful?
Yeah, I guess you know, I read a lot.
Yeah.
I read a lot. And I read anything. I'm reading a book now called Inclusify, about how to create a diverse work environment. I was just reading Go Set a Watchman by Harper Lee. I read Becoming by Michelle Obama. But I love to read because I think, A, it improves your vocabulary. Um, it also makes you a better writer to read. And I think writing is a lost skill, and a very important one, because one must be able to articulate what they want to articulate in the specific kind of way they want to articulate it. It's really important to me. I'm a big fan of, when I'm not working, turning off my phone.
Yeah. That's
I'm a,
yeah.
I'm a huge fan of it. And literally, you have to train your body not to go into shock, because you're not attached to an appendage called the cell phone. So I'm big on doing that. Um, and I try when I really can. I do try to get in the 10,000 steps a day. I think
Yeah.
it's important. And as I'm getting older, it's things like that, you know, I don't want to have high blood pressure or diabetes or, you know, and it clears my mind. It saved me through COVID. I was walking probably 15,000 steps a day during COVID. Um, so I think those kinds of things are really important. Very mundane things, but that's what I do.
You know, it's interesting you say reading, because when I was reading that Tim Ferriss book, that is a pattern that you see emerge with almost all of these guys. Like some read a book a day, which is insane. Like these guys are CEOs of Fortune 100 companies, but they find time to read a book every day or every other day. And like that is wild to think about. Like you wouldn't ever think that they would have time for that, but you know, it trains your mind to not be so, you know, hyperactive and respond to all of this, like, you know, everything, your phone's going on everywhere. Like we're such ADD people now, and
Yeah.
I'm guilty of that as well. So you know, reading is really important, I think, and I've tried to read more over the past few years as well, and it helps me out.
Yeah, and I find that my reading changes, like my patterns change. Like I'll go through periods where I'm deep into like an historical, like I was reading books about like in World War One when World War One happened, it was basically a war between all these royal cousins who were all grandchildren of Queen Victoria. So I got deep into these kind of stories about, you know, World War One and these different royal families that were sort of fighting. And then I'm into like Michelle Obama's book and reading my friend Tembi Locke's book, these sort of memoirs about how life unfolds and sort of how you have to step into the surprise of your own life, which is kind of what the show is about. Yeah, but I love to read. I've and like you showed up with a love of the outdoors and an entrepreneurship. I showed up with a love of books. My mom says I read books when I was 3, which I don't recall that, but she says it.
I believe it. Well, you know, would you say that, you know, I remember us going out to lunch in California and we were talking about saxophone, and, you know, this was pre-COVID, and you were telling me, yeah, you know, I've really wanted to like start playing sax again. I haven't picked it up in a while. And then obviously anybody who follows you on Instagram over the past year has seen like your sax playing just get really phenomenal, like with the tone and everything like that. Have you found that playing music is been a really nice outlet too?
It has been. It really has been. And I've actually started taking lessons with this guy who lives in New York. He works at NYU. Um, and it's been amazing to be a student again. And I think that's important for people to become a student again, because you sort of see where those adhesion points are to your success. So for me, playing the sax again, it's been very sort of therapeutic and healing and all of that. But also I've really learned, and what you said really resonates to me, is I'm afraid to fail. So when I'm playing for my teacher, I don't want to play unless every note, every run, every chord choice, every improvisational choice is as perfect as I can make it. And what he's working with me on is it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If it's perfect or not perfect, it doesn't matter. Just play. And so now we're doing exercises where he'll say, okay, key of C, key of G. You're going to play in the key of G. And for the next 5 minutes, I want you just to play the notes within the key of G.
Yeah.
And Hugh, I start sweating bullets because I'm like, where's the music? Where's the guideline? And he's like, just play. Which kind of what you've been alluding to. Just don't be afraid to fail. No one's gonna die if you fail. I guess if you're flying a plane and you fail, maybe. But
Yeah, I remember my first jazz gig that I had. I was really. It actually ended up being a pretty big gig because we were opening up for someone who was pretty well known, this German guitarist. And we sort of finagled our way into opening up because I just like reached out and I was like, hey, we really want to open up for you. And I was walking out when I had some sheet music in my hand in front of the crowd. It was probably like 200 people maybe. And I had the binder turned upside down and all of my sheet music fell out in front of everyone. Like literally just everywhere. And the whole crowd was laughing. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is So embarrassing, but the gig ended up going really well, and I felt so good after it. But oh my gosh, that's so embarrassing. But I think the thing I like about music is, when college ends, we sort of stop learning, and I feel like learning is an art, and our brain will lose the ability to learn if you don't keep it exercised really. And so that's the great thing about music for me is, I'm constantly learning, and it's keeping my brain with that, because we don't have to study for tests anymore. We don't have to like really learn. And so that's music is my way to keep learning. And music and YouTube really, I learn a ton of stuff on YouTube all the time, which
I
is
mean, it's, yeah, YouTube is an addiction.
it really is.
Oh my God, thank you so much for your time today and for just your willingness to play here at the podium. To those of you who are watching, you can follow Hugh at cosmetic.com and at clean-republic.com. And you can follow me on Instagram at @vpatrickhughey and on LinkedIn at Patrick Hughey. And remember, we all have a voice, so use yours wisely.
Can I plug my jazz Instagram account?
Yes.
If you want to hear any jazz, it's at Gypsy Jazz Denver. That's the Instagram account.
That's the guitar. Yes. Awesome. That's a great, I follow you there, by the way.
Thanks.
Good. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.